Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where you know the deal. People think they can do what they want, when they want, and no one else matters. And in today's episode, we've got entitled siblings, psycho grandmas, trespassing neighbors who don't care about cops. It's a wild one. Trust me, your heads will be shaking so hard in this one. You can send or link your posts to this email right here. Let's dive in. So over the week, my husband and I went on a camping trip before the summer season with its glorious warm weather was officially over. We weren't at home and we had no cell reception where we were. We left on Thursday and we returned on Monday. While we were away, my cousin left my niece still strapped to her car seat outside of my house on Friday, and she sent me some text messages. And remember, I had no reception where I was camping. I never would have known while I was gone. I saw the missed messages after I returned home. Now, this wasn't a request to ask if I can help her with babysitting. It was simply a message notifying me that she left my niece on my front doorstep along with a bag with her stuff for the weekend. She did not ask me beforehand if I could help her babysit, and there was no possible way for me to know, and even if I knew, I still would have declined because, again, I had plans to go camping. I live in a rural area where everyone's on a 30-acre plot of land, so no one knew my niece was there. I had no clue, the neighbors had no clue. My niece was literally abandoned in front of my door until Saturday afternoon when my parents came by to drop off my parcels that were delivered to their house. That's when they saw my niece. My parents then called my aunt and had her come pick her up. I can only assume that my parents, my aunt, and my grandmother scolded my cousin for leaving my niece at my door. When I got home, all I saw was the initial text message telling me that my niece was dropped off at my place, and then a string of very rude text messages and voice messages from my cousin, calling me irresponsible for leaving my niece outside and endangering her. Because what if the coyotes in my area attack the helpless infant who happened to be strapped to the car seat? I'm just so frustrated. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. Frustrated is putting it lightly in this situation. Like just imagining a helpless infant strapped in their car seat overnight for hours and hours, probably crying, hungry, scared, who knows what. My heart hurts, guys. Like, I just can't describe how I feel towards OP's cousin because this post is infuriating. And seriously, we can all agree that what she did is stupid and irresponsible and the cops need to be called, right? And don't even get me started on the audacity of this unfit parent to then blame OP for being irresponsible. Holy moly, guys, like the sooner that poor kid can be rescued from the cousin, the better. Okay, so I, a 27-year-old male, will start this off by saying that my wedding's scheduled to happen soon. I have an older brother though, who's 30 years old. Last Saturday, I was called over to my parents' house to talk about something, but they refused to tell me what until I got there. They then sat me down with my brother and they told me that my brother wants to use my wedding as the perfect day for him to propose to his girlfriend. I was instantly mad and I told them absolutely not, but that's when they ganged up on me. I end up so enraged to the point that I, one man, somehow backed all three of them into a corner. I told them if they want to do this, then not only will they all be uninvited, but I'll also cut off the financial support I've been giving them monthly, since they paid to have my golden child brother go through college by taking out a second mortgage. I landed a decently high-paying job, and I've been sending $500 to my parents monthly to help ease their mortgage. It was entirely goodwill, and I can cut it off at any time. I left without speaking anything more to them, but that's when my brother comes to my home the next day to yell at me that I ruined his big chance because now our parents are siding with me, and they say they'll evict him if he tries to propose at my wedding. He continued to scream in my face that I was financially blackmailing our parents, and that he just wanted a good chance to propose because he was afraid his girlfriend might leave him soon. I said that's his problem, not mine, because my wedding day is not about him. I told him if he tries to propose at my wedding, I will have him thrown out. and that's not a maybe, but a definite. He then yelled a few choice words at me and then went crying to our only surviving grandparent, our maternal grandmother, and she called to try and ream me out over the phone. It was no surprise that my brother heavily embellished the version of the story he told her, but she still sided with him after I gave her the real story. She tried to hold her ground, but the verbal backlash I ended up giving her left her crying. That got back to my parents, who were then pissed at me for taking things so far. But I told them that I only went that far because I had to, when they were all trying to get me to let my brother use my wedding as his springboard for a proposal. They end up agreeing with me, but they still stated they feel like I'm crass. And my brother shows up at my home again to scream at me that I'm an a-hole, and that I hope I'm happy with myself for not allowing him the opportunity. My fiance knows what my brother tried to do, and she's very angry about it. She's almost ready to have him uninvited if he pursues this any further. And normally, I do have a very mild temper. But when it comes to certain people like my brother, my parents, and my grandmother, I can easily get short with them because of all the past favoritism. My grandmother especially. She's always sided with my brother, and she believed his lies no matter what he did. She's the biggest reason that my parents favored my brother too. She kept trying to convince me over the phone to let my brother propose at my wedding, that I end up losing it on her. I end up speaking with my brother again, and I threatened to tell his girlfriend if he was still intending to propose at my wedding without permission. He took it poorly, and he called me an awful person. Well, 2 days later, my brother announces that he's moving in with grandma because she invited him and that no one in the family loves him. Our parents basically told him if he wants to live with her, then go ahead. My brother responded to this by saying that we all hate him for just wanting to propose to his girlfriend. My parents then point out it's not that he wanted to propose, but where he wanted to do it, and he would get no support for it. He's refusing to talk to our parents now. My grandmother did try and call me again, crying, but it ends with me telling her that my brother will not do that at my wedding, plain and simple, so he can get over it or not come, and the same goes for her. I end up calling her out on her favoritism towards my brother, and she ends up crying again. She then begged me not to rescind her invite, but she still said she doesn't understand why I can't let my brother have his way before ending the call. My fiance is 100% on my side, and she's fully ready to remove my brother and grandmother from the wedding. My grandmother hasn't called again, and she's not talking to my parents either. My guess is my brother went crying to her to tell her that mommy and daddy weren't enabling him anymore, so she offered for him to move in with her. There's literally nothing she can do to sway me, and I think my last conversation with her made her realize that. But it doesn't end there though. With all of this happening, of course, my brother's girlfriend finds out, so yeah, now she knows. And she ends up tearing my brother a new a-hole. He still tried to justify himself to her, and that's when she told him they were through and she cut all contact with him. My brother, of course, blamed me. His girlfriend and my fiance talk, and it came out that she's been ready to leave him for a while now. And if he tried to propose, no matter where, she would have told him no, so that's it. My brother showed up at my place one more time to have a fit, and he said he's boycotting my wedding. He actually thought he had leverage and that he and grandma won't go. I just said I wouldn't miss him, that he's now in his 30s and he needs to grow up. That made my brother shut down and leave, and since then, we've not heard a peep out of him. You know what, despite OP's brother being super duper entitled in all of this, at least he had the decency to ask OP if he could propose at OP's wedding. Because some people out there would have just done it, right? And guaranteed if the girlfriend said no, which she said she would have, that would have been disastrous, not only for OP's brother, but for OP's wedding. With that said though, the I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my girlfriend, so I'm just gonna propose to her in a big extravagant way is not the best way to save a relationship. Like, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say the real issue here might be being a 30-year-old man and still acting like a child. I just wonder how long it's gonna take grandma to see what everyone else sees. And guys, if you thought that brother was entitled, this next person also shares a post about their brother, so buckle up for this one. So I'm a 31-year-old female, and I'm in shock over the throwdown that I witnessed between my mom, in her 60s, and my brother, 26. My brother's been mooching off of my mom and I since 2017. My mom and I both own our home together. He lived rent-free for 4 years. Finally, my mom managed to force him to pay his form of rent by paying some utility bills, a total of about $450 a month. He's never paid his bills willingly. Every single month, he demands to know why he has to pay the amount, and then demands proof of the cost, as if my mom was trying to swindle him for some reason. And every time he's finally given us the money for the bills, he's told us that he's bailing us out since we must be broke. Why else would we be making him pay for us? So that said, recently, he's been going off how he can't wait to leave the house and he wants to save his own money to move out. But he simply can't with all of the costs of these bills weighing him down. My mom told him that since he's so serious about moving out, that she'll gladly pay for his portion of the bills. And all he would need to pay was his car insurance. She said that she would give him 3 months to save up as much as he could, and then he would need to move out. Well, since that agreement was made, my entitled brother has gone on 2 trips out of state. One was a 4-day bachelor party in New Orleans. He's gone to poker nights with his friends, refuses to so much as wash a dish, and he leaves a greasy mess wherever he goes in the house. Meanwhile, my mom's worked 6 days a week to make enough money to cover his expenses, and yet my entitled brother has not thanked her once. Every time she asked him to do the simplest task, he ignores her or claims he forgot, despite how often she reminds him. Well, she finally snapped. His one bill that he's responsible for was due 4 days ago, and he never paid her. So she texted him and she reminded him verbally many times. He finally responded by asking her to give him a receipt so she can prove his insurance cost and what she claimed it cost. And he never sent the money. She then lost it, and she said she's so sick of catering to him without so much as a thank you. She said she wants peace, and he's no longer worth the trouble she goes through. She said she's removing him from the car insurance and that he no longer has 3 months to move out. He now has 3 weeks. That's it. She's threatened to kick him out before and hasn't gone through with it yet, but this time felt different because I've never seen her go nuclear like that before. And my entitled brother must have felt the same way because he went through the 5 stages of grief about 100 times during that fight. My brother screamed, he cried, he accused, name-called, tried to pull me in to defend him, then tried to pull his dad who lives 2 hours away to defend him, and then tried to call my mom's sisters to defend him. He claimed that getting his own insurance was an emotional burden, and claims she needs professional help because she's obviously out of her mind, saying that she obviously doesn't care about him. Otherwise, why would she so cruelly deprive him of such valuable resources? My brother went on for 3 hours, and my mom didn't budge. I don't want to get my hopes up that she'll stick with that 3-week deadline, but this is the closest she's come to evicting him. I hope this will scare him into leaving before she has to. Ungrateful, spoiled brats, I tell you. You must have lost your mind, Mom, because nobody would treat me like this. How dare you make me take responsibility for my crap? Like, Mom had to take on a second job to cover your portion of utilities, and you have the nerve to sit there on your butt and take trips? Like, if I were in OP's mom's shoes, I would be getting boxes and loading his stuff in there just to get the ball rolling. Because there's no way a 26-year-old is freeloading in my house doing absolutely nothing. And guys, if you wondered how OP's brother got to be this entitled, OP comes back with an update that reads, from the sounds of it, he ordered his dad to find him an apartment to live near his work and no more than $600 a month. Good luck with that. And of course, Dad leapt into action immediately. My brother said that life here's so toxic that he can't stand to stay here another minute. And dear old Dad is always ready to kiss his boo-boos. I swear, it's comical how much a grown-ass 67-year-old man babies a grown-ass 26-year-old man. He's the golden child, and he's definitely Dad's favorite because they're both delusional narcissists who love to play the poor me game. So this happened when I was 11 years old, and I hope your listeners will enjoy this. So my grandmother on my mom's side hated me because she hates my father, and she often takes out her hate for him on me. My father cheated and abandoned my mom when I was like 3 years old, so that's why grandma feels the way she did. Also, I have to note, she died a few years ago, so no more harassment from her. Thank goodness that nasty witch is gone. You'll soon find out why I say that. So that said, on my mom's birthday over a decade ago, my family and I all went to IKEA to go shopping. I was with my aunt, my grandmother, and my cousins. We had spent about 3 hours in IKEA going around picking out stuff for my mom, and that's when I start to feel dizzy. I told my cousin this, and my cousin helps me, and I ask if we can get a drink because my throat feels dry. That's when grandmother glares at me, and the other adults were too busy looking at stuff and talking to take notice. Grandmother forced me to be quiet, and she told me if I'm a bother, I won't be a part of the celebrations that evening. I also want to add that she always did this. She would pull me aside, and she would always threaten or scold me away from adults. A lot of the times, my mother had no idea she hated me that much. So I stayed quiet. After about 20 minutes, I felt awful. My throat was dry, my head was throbbing, I felt dizzy. Once again, I spoke up and I asked for some water, and I'll never forget. Grandmother pulls me aside and she said this. She told me, "You shut the F up. This is your mom's birthday. No one cares what you want, so respect your mother." I try to argue as we come up some stairs near the cafe area. I'd loudly say that since we're near the cafe area, can we get some drinks? And that's when she literally hits me in the jaw for speaking. She says, "You're filthy, you're scum, just like your bastard father." Well, that's when I start crying as loud as I can. I then hear someone scream for help that this woman had just hit me in the face. And a few minutes later, security came to escort my grandmother out. The police were called and I was asked to give a statement. I asked for some water before saying anything else, and I told them this. I just wanted something to drink, and she hit me in the face. My aunt let me stay at her home for a few days after we were all let go. My aunt's the only family member I feel I can truly trust. Yeah, I can see why Opie was happy that grandmother is gone, because that is some cruel crap she pulled. Like, give the thirsty kid some water, right? And that's only one of the nasty stories Opie had. And seriously, it is just so friggin' sad that she felt that way towards Opie, all because Opie's dad left them. Like, yeah, hate on the guy who abandoned the family, I get it, but don't hate on the child who had nothing to do with it. I just wonder how Opie's mom reacted when grandma had the cops called on her for that. This happened years and years ago. I've always had a thing for not being touched by anyone. I never felt comfortable whenever somebody would grab any part of my body. Now, while my parents understand it, and for the most part other people did, my grandma never gave in to that request. My grandma's extremely touchy, like really, really touchy and affectionate. I'm talking smothering grandkids in kisses, hugs, always having to have a hand on their leg, an arm over them, you name it. Also, she's touchy to the point that she actually said one time, "I never thought a friendly smack to anybody's butt was considered inappropriate." Now, this wasn't as bad when I was a pudgy kid, but the moment I dropped a lot of weight, she exploded, with always grabbing and touching me and such. I had to remind her every time that she was near me, "I don't want to be touched. Don't put your hands on my arms, my legs, don't grab at my stomach, anything." Although I understand that she might have a hearing problem, that doesn't explain completely ignoring my take on the matter. She would say stuff like, "You got so skinny, let me touch you," as she pinched my sides. Or she would say, "Look at that butt, so shapely, I didn't realize it was so plump," giving me a great slap on my bottom. It didn't help that I share a house with her. due to me still studying and not having enough money to move out yet. One day, it reached my peak when she decides to introduce me to an old friend of hers. They were having tea or coffee or whatever, and when I walk by in the kitchen, she literally walks up to me, then grabs my arm and then lifts my shirt up. Just because, so she could brag about how skinny I was. Well, that set a whole whack of alarms off in my body. I decided I want none of that, and I just swat her arm. She didn't seem fazed by that. Her friend ignored that completely, and she went on her merry way. Well, after the friend left, she went nuclear on me. She screamed at me and said, "How could you treat me like a bandit? I'm your grandma, for F's sake." And no amount of explaining got through her thick head. She got mad at me for behaving that way next to somebody, and she said, "You are such a closed book. No wonder no one likes you." I felt sad because she made me feel bad and she demanded it because she's grandma. Guys, I've always said this, entitled family members are the absolute worst when it comes to boundaries. Like, imagine if that was a coworker or friend or something. That would never ever fly. But somehow it's okay when grandma does it because I'm grandma. I'm allowed to be super touchy all the time, and I'm allowed to harass my grandkids and make them feel uncomfortable. Who cares? And I do get it. Some grandparents love to smother their grandkids with kisses and be affectionate, all that stuff. But in this case, I think grandma's being a little bit too touchy. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this. So the front of my driveway has a sign that reads "Private Property, No Trespassing" as you pull up to the driveway. I have a fence up around my pool to keep out unwanted animals and intruders, and the only way in is to unlock the gate. I also have security cameras on certain places of the house pointing to the pool. That said, last summer, while I was away, my phone alerts me that my security camera had caught something, so I checked it to see the live footage. It was 3 teenagers that were in their early teens and 1 adult trying to climb the fence to my pool. I have a tarp over my pool at all times, which can only be removed from a switch inside my house. You'd think they would see the tarp and leave, but no. I immediately called the police and they told me they'd take care of it. And the thing is, the 4 did not even attempt to leave, and I watched as the 4 were arrested. The day I got home, my neighbor, who must have been watching for my car, storms over and starts screaming at me saying, "My sister and her kids are gonna have a criminal record now because of you." That's when I said, "So that's who my cameras detected. You should know my sign in front of my house says private property, no trespassing." She then says she'll see me in court when their court dates come up. The sister of the neighbor pled in court that it was a hot summer day and they wanted to cool down, so her sister insisted they go use my pool, but to ignore the sign that said private property because her sister and I are good friends. My neighbor and I are not good friends. I then explained to the judges that I did not give consent for my neighbor to use my pool while I was gone. The judges saw all the evidence needed, especially the sign in my driveway saying no trespassing, and found the neighbor and her sister guilty of second-degree trespassing, which in my state carries the punishment of a $200 fine and 20 days in jail. The judge found the 2 nephews and niece guilty as well. My lawyers requested a restraining order, which was granted as well. The teen's lawyer tried to explain that the teens didn't know about the sign in my driveway, but the judge dismissed that because they willingly listened to their mother and aunt that it was okay to trespass. I hope they learned their lesson. The classic F around and find out. I love that. I only wish they got more time in jail for lying about being friends with OP. That would have been the added a-hole tax. Like, I just don't understand what goes through people's heads, honestly. Oh, look, there's someone else's property that I can use because I want to. Let's go and climb their fence. Also, you gotta love the fact that they blamed OP for their family's criminal records. Play dumb games, win dumb prizes. I'm just glad I don't have a house with a pool because apparently it happens very often with people who do have pools. This person comments, "I'm sitting in my office right now trying to work, and I can hear my family in the backyard having a pool party. A pool party that's been in planning for a week. a pool party I didn't know about until last night. I have a large house with an in-ground pool, and I've always told my family that they can come over, but please let me know ahead of time. This year, no one's used the pool, so I haven't done a lot of upkeep on it. I have a salt system, so it stays fairly balanced on its own, but I've been really busy with work, so I haven't used it myself. Last night, I was talking to my mom when she said, "Well, I'll see you tomorrow." I asked what she meant by that, and she said, "For the pool party." So after digging, I found out that my brother was planning on coming over the following day to use my pool. He was bringing his daughters, and he coordinated with my sister to have her kids come over as well. Since my sister and her husband work during the day, my parents would be bringing them by. I asked how long they had been planning this for, and my mom said for at least a few days now, and they were just figuring out which day was the best. My sister overheard the conversation, and she texted me to verify if I knew all of this, and she was surprised to find out I didn't know. She then texted our brother asking if he coordinated all of this with me. 5 minutes later, I get a text from my brother saying he planned to come swimming the next day with one of his daughters, but he would have been very quiet since they know I work at home. So around 11:30, my brother shows up with his oldest daughter. I said hi and went back to work. That's when he mentioned the extra people that would be there. At first, I didn't care that much since everyone was family and they had seen my house messy before. And that's when he mentions that his daughter's boyfriend and some others are coming too. He said, well, she asked if they could come, so I said yes. Now, I love my family, but they really drive me nuts sometimes. It's not usually a big deal if my family comes over, but the fact that my brother coordinated things with other people and never thought to ask me if it was okay is just infuriating. And then to invite complete strangers as well. Again, entitled family members and crossing boundaries. Holy moly. I only wish OP shut that party down because you know what happens. If you let it happen, it'll keep happening. And that's entitled people for you. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/malicious compliance episode where bosses expect workers to work for free. And they get taught lessons they won't forget. Go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.